Fast food workers, what menu item should everyone avoid from where you work? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Worked at Circle K for 3 years. Coffee was surprisingly good and the machines were well maintained, but the cappuccino iced coffee machine was disgusting and impossible to clean despite best efforts. Lots of tiny parts where powdered drink mix could sit and rot. My location was next to a university, and we had a regular who was an engineering professor. Once he came in and watched while I was trying to clean the cappuccino machine, and said he should use it in class as an example of poor design. Story 2. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese years ago, and while the pizza was good and safe, it's pretty tough to screw up pizza, but the salad bar would be a pass. Adults and kids would just toss the tongs and spoons all over the salad bar, letting the handles fall into the food, getting all the different vegetables and dressings mixed together. All this at one of the grossest places on earth, where they are putting their hands all over video games, the ball pit, pizza, and around again. At the end of the night, then we would flip all of the salad bar vegetables over into fresh containers and top them off for the next day. They did get thrown out every few days. If employees ever made ourselves a salad, we would make it from the ingredients in the fridge that were not yet out on the bacteria bar. Story 3. I worked at Jimmy John's for almost 7 years, and they are obsessive about keeping things clean, to the point they go through a page packet of cleaning lists each day, and all food items are super fresh and labeled to be used within 24 to 72 hours. The only thing I would not eat from there is the bacon because it comes cold and it's just kind of unpleasant, lol. Another story, I run a JJ. My tablet makes me It's a huge hassle, but at least I know it's getting done, especially the ice machine, which everyone keeps commenting about. There's also the projections that no other restaurant I've worked at has in order to make sure we make only what we need that day. It's actually really clean, especially for a fast food restaurant. Story 4. Starbucks barista here, do not get any iced oleato drinks. It just doesn't work, and olive oil and coffee was already a big stretch. The hot latte is actually not too bad and tastes a little bit like Cheerios, but the oil almost instantly separates from the rest of the drink when it's iced, which is no bueno. I was given a sample of one of the oleato drinks, and the weird combo had a strange woody aftertaste. Are people really ordering enough of these drinks for them to have been on the menu for so long? Story 5. So, in the late 90s, I worked at a particular Burger King. The shake machine was legit. The store manager kept the restaurant and the kitchen very clean. One day, someone saw a single roach, and she freaked out. Had the exterminator company come out, they figured out that they had nested in the shake machine motor insulation. Just to remind you, it had not been used in about 2 years. They rolled it outside, put a line of some sort of gel around the outside of the machine on the ground, opened the covers on the sides and sprayed something out of a can. A lot of it. I saw thousands of roaches drop out of this machine and scurry away, but they hit the line of gel, went about another foot, and all died. They never used the shake machine again anyway, but it was insane. Story 6. Former Disney CM here. I worked in foods for the last 1.5 years I was there. I can honestly say that you should be comfortable eating or drinking anything from the parks. Obviously, it's not healthy food, but from a food safety perspective, Disney is super diligent. Ice machines are cleaned regularly, at least once a week. Same with beer tap and soda lines, they are flushed weekly. Of course, things occasionally happen and something can go wrong, but as soon as it's noticed, it's addressed. There have been times when items have been pulled from every location because there was an issue with a single item at a different location in another park. Disney can't afford a hit to its reputation, so they don't take chances. Story 7. There's way too much Wendy's chili slander here. MFS here don't know what chili is. It's not supposed to be fresh. It's a stew that simmers and sits, made from leftover ingredients that would otherwise be wasted. That's the whole point. And as someone who made it for a short while in high school, it's completely fine. The thing to avoid at Wendy's are the salads, but I'd assume that's a given for every edit. So quality definitely depends on location, but I bet 9/10 places are fine. And if it's watery, put crackers in it. That's what they're for. Story 8. Worked at a chain coffee shop with a type of reindeer as its mascot. Bakery items are designed to be dry in order to get you to buy coffee, and the coolers are overly sugary. However, the coffee is legit. If there is anything else on the drip menu besides regular Caribou blend, Get that one instead, as it has less acid and is better roasted than most other coffee shops. Also, the mochas use regular Caribou blend coffee as the espresso. It's not a trade secret, but the acidity is what blends the chocolate to create that unique mocha taste. Story 9. Worked at a fancy sandwich spot in a really expensive area called Ike's Lovin' Sandwiches. Our manager chose not to restock the premium pastrami that was twice as much and made us sell the normal one at the premium price. Also made us use extremely freezer-burned that had been lost to time in the back of the freezer. The vegan fried chicken was especially bad with this. Also, some of our ingredients in general weren't much better than an average sandwich spot. Big exception of our spice mayo we mixed ourselves that honestly slapped. There were so many more issues I ended up walking out without notice after a particularly bad week from the manager. The breaking point was him playing favorites with tip payouts. Basically, avoid places that claim to be nice but don't seem to back it up. Also, even though I name-dropped them, I will rep the chain regardless by saying the location I trained in at first seemed much better than the one I was hired to. It seemed like it was a manager issue as well as a failure from corporate to properly evaluate individual locations. Story 10. Anything with strawberry caramel or chocolate drizzle. At Culver's, I worked with a girl at a movie theater who was talking about how they use the same dispensers for their drizzles that we use for our butter. Also, some of our ingredients in general weren't. At the end of every day, we deconstructed the entire machine and cleaned it with a degreaser cause hot butter tends to get places. She said that she didn't know you had to clean them because at Culver's those machines were never cleaned and not even the manager was trained on how to do it. Story 11. Worked at Bojangles. I didn't notice much issues with the ice, but I know in general that ice machines are an issue. Chicken. For being a fried chicken place, the fresh fried chicken, I'd avoid that. The tenders, supremes, and Cajun filet are all fine. Those are frozen and just fried. But the legs, wings, breasts, thighs, those come fresh raw and get marinated. The issue is, sometimes the store orders too much. Maybe you planned for that Friday night football game that got rained out and now you didn't have that influx of people. Or you didn't plan enough for Sunday because it's the summer and families are spending their time at the beach, but it rained and their plans got rained out and they all came to Bojangles for a tailgate special. So you ran out, panicked, over-ordered the next week and it's sitting in the cooler. I've seen green chicken. We fried up green chicken. We feared getting written up if we refused to serve it, and if we did something that would cause it to get thrown out. The above issues, those happen. You order enough to prepare, but you can't prepare for every issue. That's why you're allowed to waste food. Throw it away, it went bad. Heck, you might even be able to argue that it went bad from the vendor and you didn't realize it until you opened the box. But instead, everybody is afraid of losing their job. From the crew member to the manager, that it's easier to just cook and serve it. And maybe serve it at a discount as a manager special. Story 12. I worked at Popeyes as a teen. Chicken came raw and was cooked fresh. Never saw an issue with old chicken because it was rotated as new batches came in. Chicken comes fresh, and we marinated in seasoning for 24 hours. Then it's lightly floured, dipped in batter, floured again, and fried. All I remember is that we rarely changed the oil in the fryers. It was like once a month maybe. Other than that, basic handling of food was relatively safe and hygienic. It's always the drink machines that are the most disgusting. Edit. Now that I think, the fryer oil could get pretty nasty too. Sometimes flies or gnats would get in there. Good shift managers required us to replace the oil if that happened. But the reality is sometimes those flies were left there, but not sure if there's a whole lot of risk of disease from frying chicken in oil tainted with a fly. The best Popeyes chicken you'll ever have is coated in flour. Excess flour is carefully shaken away, then is dipped in fresh batter, put back into the flour, shake excess flour away again, and then fried in fresh oil. You have a higher chance of getting this if you go not too long after opening. Story 13. It's been a minute since I worked at one, but never get the Domino's extravaganza. We used to just take the toppings that fell into the catch pans, we called it the pit, below the make line and use that first. While it's clean, it's usually pretty slimy because the catch pans aren't refrigerated like the food storage. One pit pie, coming up. Edit. I worked at a franchise doing this in the late 90s. We would police the pit for bigger toppings to put back in their bins, but we would most definitely scrape up the small leavings with the cheese and use that as an underlayer for those pies. We never had to scrape ice out of the pit, just the bins where toppings were stored up top. Pit pies were taught to me by the franchisee, who is one of the brand's largest now, when they were a regular fixture working in the store. Their stores would routinely pass inspection with flying colors, and they were absolute sticklers about everything else. Open drinks, mischief in the walk-in. Scrub everything at close. I attribute the pit pies to food cost, something I learned they were harsh on when I was a key for them and did ordering. Story 14. A friend of mine who worked at White Castle told me how he caught a coworker cleaning the shake machine with a toilet brush from the bathroom. That guy was fired, but I still think of that story whenever I consider ordering a shake from a restaurant. Another friend pointed out how the gloves restaurant workers wear when they make sandwiches are there to protect them, not you. And how you never know if they scratch their butt with that same gloved hand before making your sandwich. Overall, you never really know what happens behind the closed door of the kitchen or to the food before it even makes it to the kitchen. That goes for food you buy in a grocery store too. Sometimes it's better not to know if you want to keep your appetite. Story 15. I could tell you tales about my tenure working fast food. My horror story is when I worked at the Reno Comedy Club. The owner, Wayne, didn't have access to an ice machine and was buying ice when he first opened. He decided it was too expensive and we had to go to a nearby restaurant to get ice. We gave him free tickets to the shows. I hate begging. My job was to be ice boy and had to carry ice back to the club. In plastic, garbage, bags that were reused. His business model was low ticket prices and a no drink minimum to try to attract the 18+ crowd. I was expected to manage the club as I had a weekly hypnosis show and had to endure all the chores to cleaning the bathrooms to coming early to get the weekly shipment. I also had a full-time job. Weekends were arrive 3-ish, either do my show at 7 or 9, meet the talent, bar back and other chores before or after the show. I would very often not have 10 minutes to prep myself or change before the show. We'd be lucky to get out by midnight. After a 3-year run, I got tired of the comedians complaining, him harassing the female talent and the drugs. Plus side, the venue is well known to be haunted and we saw many occurrences there. Bonus, one of the joke writers for Ron White performed and got me tickets to his 2 sold-out shows at the Silver Legacy. I got yelled at because I wasn't supposed to ask for anything. I also got to meet Larry the Cable Guy. He was quite the gentleman and fun to be around. I did a double feature fundraiser with Kareth Foster and told her Larry was performing. She called him up on her speed dial and we met after our shows. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.